Project number 1. Okay, we're going to make a summer hello hanger. We're just going to use this Valentine wood round I purchased from Dollar Tree and this couture stencil that I got off eBay. It's from 2018. And then some yellow chalk paint from, oh gosh, I forget where I got it from. Probably from Amazon. That's also a bunch of singles. I guess they call them singles or packets for couture. Some I got with the Club Couture monthly kit thing, and some I got off eBay, and some I purchased, just on their own. So I will provide you with a cautionary tale a little later on in the video. But otherwise, getting couture stuff off eBay can be like a pretty sweet deal. I got a lot of really nice transfers that had never been used for, pennies on the dollar. So I'm coming in on the wood round with some yellow paint that I diluted with some white, and then I wanted to dry it and put on some white wax, but I guess I didn't wait long enough, and I ended up stopping wiping the wax on and just kind of tried brushing off the gungy stuff because it was creating like some kind of weird gungy thing when I was trying to rub it on. So I just stopped and brushed it clean and left it. So there are guidelines to cut these stencils. You don't have to go on the guides. You don't even have to cut them if you don't want to. But I think they provide those guidelines because it's the easiest thing to do. So I decided I wanted the words Hello Summer in purple because I've never used purple. And when I bought the purple off eBay, the seller said, may need water. Okay, I've added water to paste in the past, but this was literally just like a chunk of dried up paste. Like, it reminded me so like reconstituted like flavor mix or something in rice or whatever, how you got to add water and squish it and everything and make it how it's supposed to be. So that's pretty much what I had to do with that. I put it out, put some water on it, smushed it, and in the meantime I worked on other stuff because I was a little bit frustrated. So I have some pesto paste left over, and I just trimmed the bottom off the packet, and then I put the packet in plastic. So when I take the packet out of the plastic, I trim it off again because it dries up on the edge, and then you have like a nice fresh packet to squeeze the paste out of, which I did here, and then pasted it and revealed it. Now it's not a perfect reveal because of the background that I'm putting it on. It's probably pretty uneven from the way I put the wax on, but actually it was kind of like not wanting this to be perfect because I've done some chalking that's pretty perfect, and I was like, what am I going to do to rough it up if it comes out so perfect? So I was kind of happy with it. Now the purple comes out a little weird because it was all smushy and weird, and some of the water like squeezed out as I was putting the paste down, but I'm not mad about it. I think we revived it to the point of using it and getting a result out of it, so I'm okay with it. This shimmer, I think it's like I want to say pink shimmer because it looks pink to me, but I think it's like a mango shimmer or something like that. So I thought that would look cool. I actually had to look up how to do this because I couldn't get the idea of the two glasses together, but they have these little hash marks. So you do the larger one first, and that provides the background for the trees in the next one. So I decided pink was going to look pretty cool for the glasses, and then the green would show through on the trees. If that makes no sense to you, just actually Google it. I think I just Googled Hello Summer Chalkology or something like that. So yeah, I couldn't wrap my head around it when I first saw it. And those of you with shaky hands will appreciate the fact that it's taking me 2 hands to use my glue gun here. I was so tired. I did, however, decide that the the background just kind of washed off, like there was just no border. And so I wanted to define the border and define the round. The purple flowers came from Dollar Tree, and the pink ones I trimmed off a bouquet that I purchased from Temu. I originally was going to put a much larger bow on this, but it wasn't working out, and the round was such a sweet, simple little project that I just decided to use my regular little bow. I hot glued the little bouquet, little swag there that I created on the back of the bow, bent it to shape, and then just glued the whole thing to the top, covering up the hole from the original hanger. I'll give you a better look at this during the final reveal. Project number 2. The Sand and Me. So we have wood glue, chalk paint, cricket words, and this old Easter sign. And amazingly, I'm going to put these 4 things together to create a very unique, cool, summery, beachy decor. I was going to say wall leaner. I guess it's a leaner too. Okay, so I'm taking the sign and I'm going to score it into, I believe it's a 5x7 shape. I usually go by what my Cricut Joy is. My Cricut Joy, I think, is 4.5. So I like to keep my words, that wide. I'm just using an old utility knife here to score it, and then it just pops apart, and you sand down the edges. Now this is the squared out that I got at Habitat for Humanity Restore, and I'm just drawing a line that's the length, and then I drew a line in to show the angle and as a guide for the saw, but it's actually the box is going to do the angle for you. You really don't have to worry about it. Just put that random line in as a guide just to remind you, and then just cut on it and the saw does everything for you. It does kind of splinter and everything, so you do need to sand it afterwards, which you saw me doing there. Then I'm taking my favorite blue chalk paint, and I'm doing like a dry brush or a distress, if you want to call it. It's kind of just making the blue more interesting. I did this once before and I really liked how it turned out. I'm actually using the chippy brush both flat and on the edge to get the look I want. And then it was a wee bit dark, so I did go back with some sanding paper and sand it down. That kind of softened it and lightened it. My Cricut words. So the Sand and Me was some words I saw another creator using, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I like that, but what about sun? What about sea? So in my head, I had the words, the sun, the sea, the sand, and me. And I thought, that's like really cool. I wonder if I saw that in a poem or something. So I looked it up, and it wasn't a poem. It wasn't copyright. There was a lot of different variations with those particular words, but none with the 4 words I chose. So I was happy to go ahead and create something. And again, I struggle still with my Cricut decals or my Cricut words or letters. But I might change the supplies I'm using. I have a feeling that might be my issue. I'm using Cricut permanent vinyl and I believe it's HTV transfer tape. But I like how it looks, so I power on through, and I'm just doing some quick measurements to make sure it doesn't look wonky when I put the frame on. And for me, this is the easiest way to do the frame. I actually measured it to do this way. So I got those words on there, and I think there was a few single letters I had to put on. And then I am going to put my homemade Mod Podge on there to, I worked hard enough getting those dang letters on there. I'm going to make sure they stay. So I keep going over it, mostly just to smooth out the brush strokes. So that's why I keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was just trying to create a nice, even look. And then I set aside to dry and worked on the frame. So we did a little bit of sanding just to, I guess, smooth it up, vintage it up, just to give it the look that I want. And then I decided, too plain, too boring. We need to do something here. I just purchased some molds and stamps and everything from Temu. So I'm using one of the new stamps and the new stamp pad in blue. I got black and blue, and the blue is so close to what I'm using, I just couldn't resist. And I think this stamp is, I want to say that it's like a flower or a butterfly and some letters. But what I did is I used one part of the stamp on one corner and then the another part of the stamp on the bottom corner, so it wasn't exactly the same. And I thought it came out pretty cool. I liked how it looked, you know. It gave me that sort of cool, vintagey, semi-professional look. Okay, now to get the frame on there, I'm just going to use my 2-glue method. And my glues are Elmer's wood glue, which I apply with a paintbrush, and then just some hot glue. And I try to make sure that they don't mix together. I brush on the hot glue, and then I put I brush on the wood glue, and then I put the hot glue in between those spots. And I really like doing it this way. You get such a nice high-end look of having a framed project, but without, you know, having to create something difficult. So just being able to glue it on the blank or the base. So I'm just like totally tickled with how this is coming out, but needs a little bit more. I clean up the corners with some of this caulk that I finally invested in. I got some spackle stuff too, but the caulk seemed easier because I could squeeze it down in between. And I figured it also kind of would act as a little bit of a glue. All right, using burnt umber acrylic paint, I'm just going to paint that on with a very dry brush on the frame. And then, what did they say, extra or more? We needed more, so I took out a few shells, and don't worry about gluing right on the edges, because if you glue on the inside part, that glue will settle into place when you put it down. So I'm liking how this looks. I'm just so tickled. Creating something out of nothing is just such a great feeling. I hope you guys will try something like this. I'm going to give you a better look in the final reveal. Project number 3. Nautical Vibes. I got this air dry clay from Amazon. Some of these molds I got from Temu, and I'm going to make some letters. I'm actually going to spell out nautical vibes, but each word is going to be just a little bit different. So I start with some cornstarch, and I dust the letters that I want to make. And Sammy from Unicorn Dust Design does this, so I trust Sammy, and her stuff comes out pretty fantastic. So I'm gonna do what she does, which is dust them with cornstarch and then stick them in the freezer after they've been filled up. Then for vibes, I'm using my stamp letters, and I'm just going to press them into a piece of air dry clay that I rolled out and flattened. And then I'm using a little popsicle stick here to press them all in with the same kind of pressure. Just trying to get them to all look the same, more or less the same. And those get put in the freezer for 15 minutes as well. Just going to trim them up before I do that. And then 15 minutes later, I take out the molds and I put it upside down and I slowly peel it back, just like you would do with some Cricut words. And if they don't pop out right away, I just give them a gentle nudge. And there they are. Easy peasy, right? And that's my first time using air dry clay. So I play around with them. I left a lot of clay on it, so there needs to be a lot of trimming. And the clay is still pretty soft, so I just kind of leave it and wait for it to dry, and I'll come back in and do some more trimming. So here's the silver tray from Dollar Tree. I actually got 2 of them, but I'm only going to use one. there's a slight pattern in it, which we'll get rid of with the treatment that we're doing here. So sanding up everything. And I'm taking these paper towels of just regular white vinegar, and we're going to rust the tray. We're not going to paint on rust or do cinnamon or anything. We're actually going to create real rust. And I got this process from Emily at Farm Charm Chic. I left the paper towels kind of like bunched up to get some air in there because Emily pointed that out. And this is just a few hours after I started it, and already look at all the rust on the paper towels. I did decide that I wasn't quite done rusting it and freshened up the vinegar, made sure the tray was covered but that there was still ear pockets to get to it. The next morning the paper towels were completely dry, and I haven't wiped it or anything. That's just the rust on the paper towel, and there's the tray. And I am happy with this, so I'm going to leave it dry. I'm not going to wipe it or anything. There's what it looked like originally, just in case you forgot. And there's what my letters look like in the morning as well. And they came out pretty cool. I didn't even notice when I got them that there was little patch marks on them, like the letters had been patched, which I thought was kind of cute. So time for paint and glue. This project, takes some time, but it's actually pretty easy. I'm going to undo the rope on this anchor, and this comes from Shore Living at Dollar Tree. They come in other colors, but I'm using a white one because I want to paint on some color and show off the texture. So I'm just using my favorite blue chalk paint and a baby wipe, and I'm just rubbing against the texture to show it off. It's pretty bright right now, but I do something about that. I'm dry fitting the letters right now, making sure I like the way it looks if I start from the opposite side and bring them across. So to glue method, I'm using B7000 and hot glue. B7000, I guess, is kind of like a super glue version of E6000, and it's got a super precise applicator, which actually worked out well to do these letters. I didn't even realize it when I got it. I just wanted to try something different because me and glue. Two glues. All right, so when they were on there for just a few minutes, I went ahead and dragged some color across them from the baby wipe, just because I want them to match the anchor. And again, I wanted them to show up, but I wanted them to look kind of rusty too. So I went ahead and used the baby wipe to give a rusty appearance to the anchor. We're not doing real rust on this because it's just resin, I think. So when I was happy with the color of the anchor, I did some dabbing on the letters to give them a little bit more of a dingy look. Because if you've been out at sea for weeks at a time, you might look a little dingy. I'm just going to use some regular super glue that I purchased from the Dollar Tree and some hot glue. And I'm going to keep the anchor on the side light just like that because I like how it looks. Oop, I needed more glue. Okay, and again, the two glue. Just make sure they don't touch. And I rotate my gun like that to just get rid of the webs. It kind of sticks the webs to the gun instead of pulling them across the sign. All right, we're popping some glue in the middle of that anchor. And then I'm just going to hot glue it down in a way that looks interesting to me. And this is going to be a leaner, and you will get a better look at it during the final reveal. Project number 4. Wild and Free sandwich board. So isn't summer just a great time to be wild and free? I'm going to use this chalk couture stencil, some white chalk couture paste, some wood paint stir sticks, and then also a couple of couture packets, color packets. So I'm just going to show you real quick how I'm going to do this stand. This isn't the easiest way to do the stand, but for whatever reason, this is the way I chose. So it's just a triangle, and I'm going to cut the bottoms so it'll sit flat. I'm going to cut a brace to make it strong, and then when I attach it, I'm just going to use like a flap of leather at the top, and then use this string through the hanging holes at the bottom. So after I cut these stir sticks, I sanded them, painted them, and now I'm going to show you a quiet couture reveal. Never get tired of that. I'm sorry you missed the beginning parts. I basically did one color at a time, so I started with the pink, chalked all the pink, lifted up the stencil, just leaving it attached at the bottom, and then put it back down, did another color, put it back down, did another color, and then did the white words last, and wow, did it pop. I'm gonna do the sign and a little bit of embellishments now. I got these little fabric flowers from Temu, and they complemented this sign so nicely that I just had to add them. But I didn't go overboard. I think I only put like 4 or 5 flowers on there. And you kind of got to look at it to say, oh, you know, that's not chalked on. That's like there. Then I have this faux leather that I purchased from, I think it was a thrift store. It was like a big plastic bag of different colors of faux leather. So I chose the smooth one, and this is what's going to attach the stand to the board. I used the bottom of a acrylic paint bottle to give me a rounded shape, because that's what it's going to show on the front. And you'll notice there's a hole on my board. That was an attempt to attach the sign also using a bead like I did the bottom. It did not work at all. So that's why I'm going to use the leather. I'm going to cover it up. I take my B7000 glue and I apply it all around that hole there to ensure that it's going to be covered, and none of the wood part that shows is showing. Okay, V7000 only needs maybe a minute or so it's pretty much good to go after a little bit. I went ahead and flipped it over and unattached the bead. Got that out of there. And then I folded over the leather and glued it to the top of the sign. And that sign has stand has a hole in the top as well, and I just covered that up with the leather too. You could also do this without making it a triangle. You could just do them straight, do the sticks straight, and attach them on the corners. That would work. You can use the leather on both of them, and then the beads on the bottom. And again, I just hold it for a little bit until I can raise my fingers and it's not trying to come up. And I did I guess I sat that for a while. But yeah, then, you know, it just seemed too plain at the top. I wasn't going to do a bow, so I took out my little button collection there, and I found a little pink floral button, and it was too good to be true, so I just had to use it. And then I don't show this, but I chose a black square button on the back there. You can see it, and that's what it looks at the back, and you can see at the back the side view. Better look at the final review. Project number 5. Project number 5, the long-awaited flip-flop garland. So pretty simple here. Paint, flip-flop, wood beads. Magic Point paint, acrylic in lemon, spring green, and pink, and the 20mm large wood beads. And then I just chose something that I thought would look good with them. I forget how many millimeters. And I'm going to use the last little bit of that white acrylic paint by Deco Art. So I just tap some into the bottom of this little Dollar Tree plastic bowl and a little bit of water, and I'm going to use this to whitewash the small beads. So I mix it up a wee bit. I'm just going to plunk my little beads in there, and it's as simple as that. Get them all in there, shake it around, swish it, stir it, slosh it, and then instead of dumping it, just use your stick, or in this case it's a skewer stick. Just use your stick to sort of like push them out, and they'll dry a lot faster, and it's a lot neater. It's a lot cleaner. So I'm going to do the same for the larger beads, but in the colors that I chose. Again, pink, lemon, and spring green. And then I grabbed me some, this yellow. I grabbed some of this yellow twine, and we're going to make a garland. You can use your hand or a piece of cardboard to do this. I chose a Dollar Tree wooden plank. And I'm just going to wrap the twine around the plank until I'm happy with the amount of twine, like, I don't know, the width of it, the length of it, till it's thick enough. I'm going to wrap it till it's thick enough, and then I'll just cut a length of cord there that I'll use to make the head. But for now, we're actually going to do the length of the garland and double it. So we're going to use a doubled piece of twine. We're going to pull the looped end through the tassel there. There's the loop. We're going to pull it through the tassel, and then we're going to pull the tails through the loop. And we have no knots. Just tighten it up there. No glue, no knots. Nice and clean. I'll go ahead and tie a knot for the head. Some people actually skip this step, but I just like how it looks. So I tie a simple knot, trim off one end, and let the other end fall down with the rest of the tassel. So if you're still watching while I'm threading these beads here, I just want to thank you for staying till the end. I'm going to go ahead and trace a circle on the flip-flop and cut it at an angle. So like the surface area of the back is a little bit less than what you see at the front. And we are almost done here. Just got to pull that twine through and tie a simple knot, and then pull